when someone you trust becomes your worst nightmare. Imagine this. You go on a few casual dates with someone. At first, everything seems fine. Pleasant conversations, shared laughter, small glimpses of connection. But then, something shifts. You begin noticing odd behaviors, little red flags that, at the time, don't seem like much. You brush them off, convinced you're overreacting. Until one night, long after you've stopped seeing them, you wake up to a noise in your home. Faint, almost imperceptible, but it's there. You hold your breath, straining to listen. Then, soft footsteps. You are not alone, and the person standing in the darkness of your home is someone you once thought was just an ordinary date. This is not a work of fiction. This is a true story. It started like any other modern romance, on a dating app. I was 22, navigating the chaotic world of young adulthood and looking for something lighthearted. That's when I matched with Hunter. His profile seemed normal, a bit generic maybe, but nothing raised immediate red flags. His messages were polite, his humor was decent, and he didn't seem overbearing. I had no reason to suspect that meeting him would change my life forever. Our first date was quick, a casual coffee meetup. Just two people feeling each other out, seeing if there was any chemistry. He was charming enough, though not overwhelmingly so. The conversation flowed easily, and nothing about him set off alarms in my head. It wasn't an immediate spark, but it also wasn't uncomfortable. So, when he asked to see me again, I said yes. The second date was at a bar. It was fun, though I noticed he drank a bit more than expected. Not to the point of being drunk, but enough that I made a mental note of it. Still, people get nervous on dates, right? Maybe he just needed to loosen up. The third date was dinner, and that's when I felt it. That subtle shift. It wasn't anything obvious, just a collection of small details. The way his smile lingered a fraction of a second too long. The way his eyes sometimes locked onto mine with an intensity that wasn't admiration, but something else. Something harder to define. Something that made my skin crawl without knowing why. But the strangest thing? The way he observed me. Not in a flirtatious way, not in a way that made me feel desired, but as if he were studying me, memorizing my reactions, analyzing my every move. Still, I ignored it. The fourth and final date was another bar meetup. This time, I wasn't as excited. That nagging feeling in my gut had settled in, refusing to leave. I watched him more closely, noticing how he drank excessively, how his attempts to get close to me felt less like flirtation and more like a test of boundaries. When he leaned in for a kiss, I turned away, politely refusing. He laughed it off, but I felt his fingers tense slightly against my arm. As we walked out, he suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Come home with me." I gave an awkward laugh. "Not tonight. I have work in the morning." A lie. His grip didn't loosen. "I'll drive you to work in the morning." I shook my head, pulling my hand away. "No, really, I'm just tired." For the briefest second, his expression darkened. Not anger, something colder. But then he forced a smile. "Fine." Relieved, I turned toward my car and started driving home. The streets were mostly empty, the occasional headlights illuminating the road. I wasn't thinking much until I checked my rearview mirror. A car was following me. I made a turn. The car turned too. Another turn. Still there. My pulse quickened. The streetlight caught the license plate, and my stomach dropped. It was Hunter. My hands clenched the wheel. My mind raced. Was this just a coincidence? Maybe he was heading in the same direction. But no. 3 turns, all different directions. He was following me. I grabbed my phone, texting him quickly. "Are you following me?" The response came instantly. "Yeah, just making sure you get home safe." My hands tightened. I called him. He didn't answer. This wasn't concern. This wasn't normal. This was control. I pulled over, watching his car in the mirror. He stopped in the middle of the road. For a moment, he just sat there, watching, reading my message probably. Then finally, he drove away. I exhaled, but the unease didn't leave. I told myself that was it. No more. I was done. The next morning, I sent a message. "Hey, I had a great time getting to know you, but I don't think we're a great match. I wish you the best." The response came fast. "Number I don't understand. You led me on for 4 dates just to say that." Then another. "How about you pay me back for everything I spent on you?" Then another. "You think you can just ignore me?" I blocked him, but it wasn't over. That same day, the calls started. No caller ID. Over and over. My phone buzzing at all hours. I ignored them. Then, something worse. When I got home from work, there was something on my front porch. A bouquet of flowers, and a note. I picked it up, my fingers trembling. The handwriting was neat, careful. "I'm sorry. Can we have one more chance?" He knew where I lived. The moment I realized that, a wave of nausea hit me. My body screamed at me to run. I glanced around, scanning the street. No sign of him, but he had been here. Recently. I typed out a message, my hands shaking. "Never contact me again. Never come to my house, or I will take legal action." I kept his number blocked, not wanting to see his response. I told myself that was the end of it. But that night, I woke up to a sound. A noise so faint I almost thought I imagined it. I held my breath. Then, I heard it again. A door creaking open. From inside my house. If this story has made your heart race, hit that like button and share it with your friends. But trust me, this is just the beginning. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The silence in my room was suffocating, my pulse hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe my half-asleep brain had misheard something. And then it happened again. A door creaking open. Not from outside, not from the wind. From inside my house. My throat tightened as I forced myself to stay completely still. The noise wasn't loud, but in the stillness of the night, it was unmistakable. A subtle shift in the air. A presence that wasn't supposed to be there. I reached for my phone, my hands trembling as I unlocked it. The screen's glow felt blinding in the darkness. My fingers hovered over the dial pad, but before I could type anything, another sound sent ice through my veins. Soft footsteps, somewhere beyond my bedroom door. I clamped a hand over my mouth, every instinct in my body screaming at me to run, to get out. But I couldn't move. If I moved, whoever was out there would know I was awake. I needed to think, fast. Could it be my parents? Number, they were out of town. A burglar? Maybe. But if someone was breaking in to steal something, why was it so quiet? Why did it feel personal? Then, the realization crashed into me. Hunter. I had blocked him, ignored him, and now he was inside my house. I slid off my bed as slowly as possible, pressing my body to the floor. I needed to hide, but where? My closet. Too obvious. Under the bed. Too risky. The footsteps were getting closer. With no other choice, I slid myself under my bed, pressing my back against the cold, hardwood floor. My breath was shallow, my fingers curled into fists, the phone still clutched in my palm. And then, The handle of my bedroom door turned, a slow, deliberate motion. I watched in horror as the door creaked open, revealing nothing but darkness beyond it. The dim streetlight from outside cast long, eerie shadows across my floor. My body was shaking so violently, I was afraid he would hear it. And then I saw them. Shoes. 2 feet, standing just inside my room. I clamped my hand over my mouth. He wasn't moving, just standing there, listening, watching. I squeezed my eyes shut. My phone was still in my grip, but I couldn't risk making a noise. I could call 911, but if I unmuted it, the faintest sound might give me away. The silence stretched on, stretching into eternity, and then the drawers next to my bed began sliding open, one by one, slowly, methodically. He was going through my things. I felt my pulse hammering against my ribs as I peeked through the tiny gap between my bed frame and the floor. His movements were careful, calculated, as if he had all the time in the world. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, but I couldn't. I didn't know how long he stayed there, but at some point, he let out a low breath, a whisper under his breath. "Where is it?" He was looking for something, I had no idea what. Then, to my absolute horror, he sat down on my bed, right above me. I could see the soles of his shoes, inches from my face. The mattress dipped under his weight, the bed frame creaking softly. I was trapped. Seconds stretched into minutes. He wasn't moving. Was he waiting for something? Was he listening? Then finally, after what felt like an eternity, he stood up. I heard him move toward the door. He paused, then took a deep breath. And then, just like that, he walked out. I waited, counted the seconds in my head. Then I heard the faintest sound of footsteps retreating down the stairs. I let out a shaky breath. My entire body was screaming at me to move, to run, to do something, but I forced myself to wait. I listened. The house was silent again. Slowly, painfully, I slid out from under the bed. My knees were weak, my fingers numb as I clutched my phone. My first instinct was to make a run for the door, but if I did, what if he was still inside? What if he was waiting? I couldn't take that risk. Instead, I pressed myself against the wall, inching toward the door frame. I peeked out, my heart seizing in my chest. The hallway was empty. The stairs leading to the lower level were shrouded in darkness. I needed to get to the front door, but first, I needed to be sure. I turned back toward my closet. The door was open. Had it been open before, or had he looked inside? I reached for the baseball bat I kept near my laundry basket, gripping it tightly. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. I took a single step forward. The floor didn't creak. Good. Another step. Still silent. I reached the stairwell and peered down. Darkness. Nothing but empty shadows. I started down, my grip on the bat tightening. My breath felt too loud, my heart too wild. Step by step I descended, and then I saw it. The front door. It was unlocked. The deadbolt was still in place, but the handle lock was undone. A wave of dread washed over me. He had gotten in without breaking anything. That meant only one thing. He had a key. I felt my stomach twist. I locked the door behind me every night, always, which meant Hunter had been inside my house before. This wasn't the first time. I reached for the lock, fingers trembling as I secured the door. My mind was racing. He had left, hadn't he? But what if he was still here? What if he was watching me right now? I turned, pressing my back against the door, gripping the bat tighter. I needed to check the windows, the back door. I needed to be sure. Then, a shadow moved outside, just beyond the window, and then a soft tap on the glass. I screamed. Have you ever felt like someone was watching you? Let me know in the comments below, and if you made it this far, don't forget to hit that like button and share this video. But trust me, it's not over yet. The knock on the glass was soft, gentle. It shouldn't have been terrifying, but in that moment, in the dead silence of my house, it was the loudest thing I had ever heard. My breath caught in my throat. My grip on the baseball bat tightened until my knuckles ached. Tap. Another knock. I couldn't move. My body felt frozen, my heart beat a deafening roar in my ears. And then, my phone buzzed. I flinched so hard I nearly dropped it. My hands trembled as I lifted it, the screen illuminating my shaking fingers. No caller ID. I stared at it, mind racing. Was it him? Was he outside, standing in the dark, waiting for me to answer? The knock came again, and this time a voice followed. Software too soft. A whisper. Hey, I know you're in there. I stopped breathing. Hunter. It was Hunter's voice. He was outside my house. I backed away from the door, my body shaking so violently I could barely hold on to the bat. My mind screamed at me to move, to run, to hide. But where? I glanced at the window, heart hammering. Then I saw it, a shadow, barely visible against the dim glow of the streetlight, a figure standing completely still, watching. Hunter. He was just standing there. My stomach twisted violently. I turned and ran. I couldn't think. My feet barely touched the floor as I sprinted up the stairs, every muscle in my body screaming at me to get away from him. I reached my bedroom, slammed the door, and locked it. My breath was ragged, my entire body trembling, as I pressed my back against the door. The phone was still in my grip, the screen glowing in the darkness. No caller ID. The call had ended, but another one came immediately after. I let it ring. Then, busy. A text. I forced myself to look. Let me in. I just want to talk. I felt bile rise in my throat. My fingers hovered over the screen, but I didn't reply. Then, another message. I don't understand why you're being like this. I squeezed my eyes shut. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. Another message. Come on, I know you're awake. I gripped the phone so hard my fingers ached. I wanted to scream, to call someone. But who? My parents weren't home, and if I called the police... The knocking stopped. A sudden, suffocating silence filled the air. And that's when the doorknob rattled. Not the front door, my bedroom door. I stopped breathing. I had locked it, I knew I had, but the handle turned slowly, as if someone was testing it. Then a voice, too close. Why are you hiding from me? I couldn't think, couldn't move. Then, bang. A single forceful pound against the door. Then another. Bang, bang, bang. I scrambled backward, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The bat was useless. I had nowhere to go, nowhere to run. Then, silence. I waited. Seconds stretched into eternity. Then, from under the door, a shadow moved. He was right outside. A sound escaped my throat, a small, broken whimper. I clamped a hand over my mouth, heart hammering. And then, the light under the door disappeared. I realized he had covered the peephole. He was blocking it. A shudder racked through me. I couldn't see him, but I knew he was still there, waiting, watching. Then, a new text. I forced myself to look. Fine, have it your way. And then, silence. I waited. Minutes passed, then an hour. I didn't move from my spot. My body ached, my eyes burned from exhaustion, but I couldn't sleep, couldn't risk it. Then, another noise. Not at my door, not inside, outside, at my window. I turned my head slowly, and what I saw nearly stopped my heart. A shape, pressed against the glass. I screamed. Hunter's face was right there, staring in. I scrambled off the bed, nearly tripping over my own feet as I lunged for my phone. 911. My fingers barely worked as I dialed. The ringing felt like it lasted an eternity before a calm voice answered. 911, what's your emergency? I couldn't even form words. I turned back to the window. He was gone, just like that, vanished, but I knew better. He wasn't gone. He was hiding, waiting. I forced myself to speak, my voice shaking. There's someone outside my house. Are you in a safe place? I swallowed hard. He was at my window and my door. I think he's still here. The dispatcher's voice remained calm. Stay on the line. Officers are on their way. I nodded even though she couldn't see me. My eyes darted toward the door, still locked. The window, still closed. But I didn't feel safe. Not until they arrived. The longest minutes of my life passed before I finally saw flashing lights outside. A sharp knock echoed through the house. Police! I ran. I didn't even check if he was still there. I just ran. When I reached the door and unlocked it, I practically collapsed into the arms of the officer standing there. Are you hurt? He asked. I shook my head, barely able to breathe. He was here. They didn't waste time. They searched the entire property. Every room, every closet, every possible hiding place. They found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no footprints. It was as if he had never been there at all. But I knew better. I knew he had been inside. I knew he had been watching me. And worst of all, I knew this wasn't over. Not yet. If you made it to the end, you're braver than most. Have you ever had a feeling that someone was watching you? Let me know in the comments. And if this story sent chills down your spine, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Nightmare Narratives has more terrifying stories coming your way.